Alright, just got our skid loader unloaded over here at our second farm. We just got done cleaning up this old scrap pile we keep out here at this old hog grower that we have. And back in here in each one of these bays, we use these for storage. So we're trying to get them cleaned out and kind of organized better. See what we have, get rid of stuff we really don't need. And in one of these bays, we have an old trailed brush mower, Bush Hog. I'm not sure what brand it is exactly, but we used to use this on our old 4020, and the U-joint got blown out of it because it got wrapped up in some woven wire mowing along the side of a field many years ago. So I'd kind of like to try to get this out and see if it's even worth fixing, and try to use it for mowing corn stalks or some light brush mowing with my 504 if it's got the power. So in order to find that out, we gotta get her out of here. So brought the skid loader over, cleaning up all the old scrap. This entire bay here, it was lined with scrap metal, about 6 foot high. Got a lot of nails laying on the ground and screws. So before I get the skid loader in here, I brought a shop broom over a few days ago to do a little bit of cleaning. And I want to go over everything good, especially this bay here. I want to sweep this entire thing all the way down and make sure there's no nails on the ground. So I'm just walking down here and there's wire right there. Then we got these dips at the corner of the concrete. That'd be pretty devastating for a skid loader to go off of, so I'm gonna try to stick to this side. I'm gonna get that cleaned up and we'll get the skid loader over here and try to drag that thing out. Alright, it is the next day. I'm just getting back over here to work on these hydraulic fittings. I figured that my international fittings weren't going to be the right ones to hook up to these Pioneers that we put on here for our 4020 back in the day. So these are the Pioneer ends that we got off of that 4020, these bottom ones. These ends go onto the hydraulic hoses, and then the small end goes into the hydraulic fittings for the 4020. Now, on my 504 that I got here, my hydraulic couplers are internationals, and the way I understand it is internationals were like much bigger than everybody else's, and so that way you could only use international equipment on internationals. You'd have to kind of retrofit your other ones for if you wanted to use your international couplers. I think that's how I understand that. So I need to convert these over to Pioneers. So I've got 2 Pioneer couplers here. I recently parted out a 460 diesel Farmall that was converted over to Pioneers. So I kept these Pioneer fittings. They might come in useful one day, and they did a week later. So I took the international couplers off, and the threads are way too big, so I need to change that out. And I think I have threaded pieces off that 460 that'll fit into here. I'm not sure. I need to go double check. So that's kind of where I'm at. And really, I don't even think I need these hydraulic hoses. I need to just take them apart here and plumb them straight into this this hydraulic block, whatever that's called. But we'll see if I even got the fittings to do that. First of all, we'll just try to get it home. I want to see if this will get raised up and be able to just trail it home with me. That's kind of the plan, so we'll go from there. Alright, so it's about 5 days later, so I'm taking all of the hydraulic hoses and the couplers that were on the back, discontinuing them, and I'm just going to plumb my new Pioneer couplers straight out of the hydraulic blocks on the back of that 504. So went to Napa, had to get these adapters. The side that goes into the block is 7/8, and the size that goes into my Pioneers is 1/2 inch. So I've got to put thread sealer on this male fitting here that goes into my Pioneer coupler. So what I like to use for that is this stuff right here, if you can see it easily. That Harvey TFE paste, white, slow setting stuff. I use this a ton on diesel fuel fittings. Get a little bit of junk off the top from sitting. Put that on the male side here, and I'll screw my coupler into it. There we go, you can see it now. Got thread sealer all the way around. It's a little bit thick, but that ain't gonna hurt nothing. So this stuff is slow setting compound, so it doesn't actually ever get hard. It stays malleable and pliable. So, but I always like to let them sit for a little while just so they can stiffen up. So I'll go ahead and do my second one. Let's see, I use this on all of my threads for my diesel fuel fittings, on my diesel fuel tanks for my 706, my 504, stuff like that. Oh, and Amazon's here. How freaking awkward. I'm standing in front of a camera and Amazon's pulling in. All right, it's about 2 hours later. Gave that a little bit of time to kind of set up and dry. Like I said, it's not going to get hard or cake up like it, because it's a slow setting thread sealer, but it will stiffen up a bit. Go ahead and pop these on. Get them tightened down. I prefer this much more than having hydraulic hoses sticking out all over the place. There we go, that's nice and tight. Second one. In there nice and tight. Make sure they're all right. That should be ready to roll. So I'm going to get this thing started, put a little bit of pressure to these couplers, make sure there's no leaks, and then I'm going to head over and see if that bush hog will get lifted up off the ground. Wasn't too bad, that was just nice and snug. Now that you got that plug out, you're going to want to grab your closest push rod. Stick it down in there. You can see it's damn sweat bees. See, it's right up to the very top of the mark. That looks pretty clean to me. I'd say leave that right where it is. Next thing I got to do on this mower is I got to put a new PTO shaft on it. The rear half of the PTO I got over here in the old scrap bin because Well, that happened. See, it cracked our yoke there where the U-joint fits in. So, we've got 1 3/8 diameter PTO shaft here coming out of our gearbox to our bearing. Got a little hole here for our for our shear bolt. And so, went over to the neighbor's junkyard. I honestly didn't expect to find what I needed. I really didn't expect to find anything. But, amazingly, I found exactly what I needed. This isn't off of a Bush Hog, I don't believe, but it's got the same keyed square shaft with our front half of the PTO being that square shaft with the keys on the front. So, these things had sat outside for, my guess is easily 10, 15 years, somewhere in there. And I've been scrubbing them with my wire brush over here, getting what I could with the angle grinder and a knotted wire wheel. I don't know how to take these darn PTO shields off. I'm tired of messing with them, so now that I got them all cleaned up the best I can, I'm going to fit them together with some WD-40 and a little bit of grease and work them back and forth. Make sure they're not sticking. I slid those back and forth once or twice just to make sure they were starting right. Now I'm going to put a little bit of grease in here as soon as I get a battery. Slides good. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted. Perfect. Perfect. All right, that turned out really good. I got the corner of our new PTO shaft kind of tapered inward. I'll show you why I did that in just a second. You can see the difference in thickness. This is our original PTO. and this is our new Volunteer. It's much thicker, so even though it's the same distance between both of our shear bolt holes, when you slide it on to our shaft over here, because that's so much thicker, it wants to touch the housing of our cradle bearing. I forget what these are called exactly. So I had to taper this edge so I can make a little bit of clearance. We don't have a ton of clearance, but clearance is clearance, so that'll fit in there nice and it won't rub. So let's go ahead and slip that on and put our shear bolt in. Not that it matters, but since we've gone through the hassle, might as well make sure that the shaft never gets seized on here. It probably never will. I'll probably not see a whole lot of use other than just playing around with corn stalks and chopping up some corn stalks for square baling, but it only takes a second. Might as well save ourselves an hour. And it looks like it'll work. Spin that. Don't worry about threads. No. Yep, that's on there nice and tight. Let's go ahead and spin this over. You can kind of see that clearance a little better. Before, I couldn't even get this thing to make a full revolution. It would just lock up. There's no drag or nothing, no scraping. That'll work. I've really nickeled and dimed this whole mower since I got it. And that was the plan, so thankfully it's all been working out so far. Works like it should, anyway. This thing feels pretty dangerous, but it works. Alright, just got the mower unhooked up here, out of the way. I'm going to end this part of the video here. I appreciate you guys for watching this far into it. So, don't really have a good example of using it to really mow stuff right now. I'm still a couple ways away from harvest time. I really only plan on using this for mowing corn stalks. I really have no interest in using it to mow brush and tall grass. We have another mower that's better suited for it with a bigger tractor. So this is just something to play around with since I bought that 504. It's fairly good size for it. Doing really light duty stuff like mowing corn stalks, it'll have plenty of power. It'll pull it perfectly fine up and down the road and through the field. So really that's the only reason I put any time into this. So like I was saying earlier, I got lucky. I nickeled and dimed this thing all the way to the end. I've only got about, $25 into it plus my time. The only thing I had to put into this was some adapters for my 504 to switch over to those Pioneers. The Pioneers I already had off of another tractor, so it all worked out good. The PTO, I'll settle up with my neighbor on that. I know he usually doesn't want very much, if anything at all, for stuff I find over there, because me and him do a lot of work back and forth with one another. So I'm just kind of counting that as probably, $25 for a PTO as well. So worked out really good. I will post another video later on using this thing to mow corn stalks when the time comes. So be on the lookout for that, and I appreciate you guys watching. Take care.